Plan 10, I'm Cral Azuz. It's great to see all of our viewers around the world today. For our first report, we're taking you to the nation and continent of Australia. In the southeast part of the country, in the Australian state of New South Wales, a massive bushfire recently roared up to Tathra, a small town on the Australian coast. It spread so fast that hundreds of people had to run to the beaches or take refuge in other towns nearby. One resident said she walked the beach for 3 miles with more than 200 other people to get away from the heat. People who live in Tathra say its cell phone reception is notoriously bad, even when there's no disaster. And the lack of dependable information reportedly left some folks in the dark about how serious and how close the fire was before it hit. But while local officials say a number of people needed to be treated for smoke inhalation, no one's missing and no one's seriously injured. The bushfire destroyed around 70 homes. About 40 others were damaged, and that's in addition to dozens of caravans or cabins that burned. Firefighters were able to save 400 houses. They were hoping to have the fire contained yesterday afternoon. That means they'd have it walled off so that it doesn't spread further. The next step for residents will be to return to their homes and see what needs to be done. Bushfires and forest fires are common disasters in Australia. 10-second trivia. What is the second largest land mammal on Earth after the elephant? Common hippopotamus, white rhinoceros, American bison, or polar bear? With a weight of between 3 and 5 tons, the white rhinoceros checks in as the planet's second largest land mammal. And a subspecies of the white rhino, known as the northern white rhino, is now just 2 animals away from complete extinction. And both of the living ones are females. The last male, who was named Sudan, lived on a conservancy in the African nation of Kenya. He was 45 years old, which is elderly for a rhinoceros, and he had a lot of health issues related to his age. So a conservation group announced yesterday that Sudan had been put to sleep. As Sudan lived out his last years, he was protected 24 hours a day by armed guards. Just as conservationists prized Sudan for being the last male northern white rhino, poachers, people who illegally kill animals, prize rhinos for their horns because, especially in Asia, they're believed to cure different problems in humans. Researchers have saved some of Sudan's DNA, and they're hoping to use it to keep the subspecies alive. If they're unsuccessful, they say the 2 remaining female northern white rhinos will probably die over the next decade, making these unique animals extinct.
He just could not carry his weight anymore. These beasts you're seeing behind me, one of them is his daughter, Fatu, his granddaughter, I beg your pardon, and his daughter Najin over there. They're the 2 only northern white rhinos, which is distinct from the southern white rhinos because they have shorter legs, hairier ears. But basically, Sudan was the last male rhino, and because of a crippling old age, he could no longer carry himself. And we've spoken to the vets here, and the feeling, while you're asking, is one of sadness, as if they really lost someone they knew for a long time, and they did know him for a long time. Born in 1973, many of his relatives were massacred and killed, mainly for their horns in poaching in this part of the world. And at the moment, they are trying, the scientists and the conservationists, to find some way of conserving Sudan's lineage by an incredible, fascinating system of harvesting the eggs of the last 2 females here. It's absolutely sort of cutting edge of science and conservancy. So all is not lost, but of course the blame has to go to us as people and mankind. Remember, rhinos have been on this earth for 55 million years, and it took just 2 centuries to wipe out a complete subspecies of the northern white rhino.
A treasure hunt factors into our next report this Wednesday, but it may concern more legend than fact. Here's what we know for sure. Last week, FBI agents and state officials were seen digging in the ground in part of rural Pennsylvania in an area called Dents Run. The FBI would only say it was, quote, carrying out court-authorized law enforcement activity in Elk County. But news affiliate WJAC says their cameras also observed the owners of a lost treasure recovery service at the site. And that brings us to the legend. In 1863, during the U.S. Civil War, the story goes that a Union wagon train packed with gold was lost near Dents Run. Some accounts say it had 52 bars of gold, which would be worth $54 million today. But despite decades of treasure hunting in the area, no gold and nothing other than a few historical artifacts has been found. And a local historian who's investigated himself says he found no credible evidence there was ever gold there. Still, with rumors swirling that metal detectors indicated something was at Dent's Run and FBI agents seen excavating in the area, the lore has taken on new life. The skin is the largest organ on the human body. It's like a climate control jacket we all wear. It keeps our insides warm when it's cold. It helps us cool off when we're hot. But if someone loses a limb, they lose the ability to feel what the skin there could feel, even if they have a prosthetic limb replace it. Meet a scientist who's working to change that.
My name is Benjamin T. I'm from Singapore and I'm 35 years old. And I am a scientist and innovator in the field of electronic skins. So electronic skin is really a recreation of some of the amazing capabilities that human skin offers us. Basically, it's a substrate that can sense the environment really well, just like your own skin. And the whole idea is to be able to advance robotics and provide them with the sense of touch that allows us to be so dexterous and creative. When I was a kid, about 7 years old, I was really inspired when I watched the Star Wars trilogy, and they had a robotic assistant fix back Luke Skywalker's hand that he lost in a Jedi fight. And the hand had complete sensation, and you could, when the robot pokes it, is able to react. And this is something that today's prosthetic hand is unable to achieve yet. If you talk to patients or people that have unfortunately lost their hands or even their legs, when they use a normal prosthetic, they're unable to feel, right? And this really affects their daily activities.
Nice, that's a good one.
I've spent a decade actually thinking about this problem. And it turns out it's not so easy. You know, when I first started, I think that was in 2008, the field was just starting, people were just starting to think about how we can solve this problem. And we had to work with very new materials. We had to develop new materials. The grand challenge is, can we create an artificial version of skin? And you know, we have multiple brainstorming sessions to see how we can achieve that. I really think we are very close. We have now developed a platform technology that can enable sensors to be built on any scale you want. So it could be over the entire body of a robot, or it could be as small as in the area of your fingertip. What we're trying to do is to change science fiction into scientific reality. Quite frankly, kudos to the science fiction writers. They've done an excellent job of envisioning a future, but we are the ones putting in the hard work to make that a reality.
Super Monster Wolf gets 10 out of 10. What sounds like your little brother's description of something scary, Super Monster Wolf, is actually a sort of scarecrow, except instead of warding off birds, this thing in Japan is meant to scare off deer and wild boar. Its eyes glow, it can growl or howl or make gunshot sounds. The solar-powered Super Monster Wolf costs $4,800, but farmers say it has helped keep pests away. Even if it's more likely to growl than prowl, to glow than grow, to stick than stalk, to make noise than show poise, to light up than light out, and to be more sensory than intensory, it might not monster up fear in humans, but at least it wolfed up our last segment on CNN 10. I'm Cral Azuz.